At www.spreaker.com, create your own radio show and find thousands of exclusive radio channels.
It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is Great White with Fast Road to Nowhere, one of my favorite Great White tunes of all time. And Chris, believe it or not, on the phone with us. I know you've been waiting for this all week.
Absolutely.
Grab a hold of the console.
Okay.
But we got the one and only, the great Jack Russell on the phone. Welcome back to the Classic Metal Show, Jack.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me again. It's good to talk to you guys. How you all been?
Excellent, Jack. But you know what? It's not us we're concerned about. It's you we're concerned about.
Well, I'm doing great, man. Things are all as they should be, you know.
Well, I tell you, Jack, Chris works with one of your oldest friends, and I'm like one of the bestest friends, Don Dokken.
Oh, I love Don. Yeah, I just talked to him a couple nights ago, actually.
And he basically, when I saw him, was with him back in June, he was telling me basically how good you looked, how great you sounded, and I guess you're sharing vocal coaches now.
Yeah, I got a new teacher, and I've been kind of turning him on to it and trying to help him out. He's going through a little bit of rough times right now. So, you know, what I can do to help my buddy Don, you know, he's my dad.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, he just said good things to say about you. He was glad that you're doing well and that you're out there performing again and basically doing your life's calling.
Yeah, you know, it's great. It's been a while. It was scary. There was some really dark moments, you know. I was all alone, and save for the missus. You know, it just, I don't know, it made me think about a lot of things, you know, where I wanted to be in my life and who I wanted to surround myself with. So I ended up making some serious changes, you know.
Sure. Well, Jack, you know, obviously, man, and, you know, we're not going to pull punches. Let's just go right to the core of it, man. A lot of people, ourselves included, really did not think there was going to be any more interviews with Jack Russell. A lot of us thought you were going to die from everything that was going on. And, you know, I mean, we actually talked about it at length in the past, you know, about it, just because you were just having such a hard time. What was it that happened in your life, I guess, that really convinced you, okay, it's time to fix this or I'm going to die?
Well, you know, when I woke up on August 11th after my last surgery, and my wife looked at me and she said, Jack, your friend Lee just died today of alcohol poisoning. I'm like, whoa. And I said, I was next. I said, Jack, you're next. You know, you got to stop doing this. And then a couple of days later, Stephen Tyron called me up and kind of told me the same thing. So, you know, after losing a great musician and a friend like Janie, and realizing that, you know, I was going to lose my life, you know, at best. First, you lose all your friends, everything else, you know what I mean? And so I just decided it was time to really, really get serious again, you know?
Sure.
And I mean, I just had to sit and say, what do I really want? You know what I mean? Do I want to sing? Do I want to do this? And I thought, yeah, I really do. You know, do you believe you can recover from this stuff, from these injuries? Yeah, I do. So, you know, and it was the question of saying, okay, do you want to do this? Well, yeah, that was the tough one. Do I want to? And yeah, I did want to, and so I did. You know, and what's the date today? The 8th? 2 more days, I'll be sober for a year.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I mean, that's an achievement, man. Especially where you know the band, yourself and the band have always been known, you know, through the '80s scene as the hardest partying band, or one of the hardest partying bands. It's a pretty amazing thing when you look at it, that you've gone a year, you know, sober and clean. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I had 8 years at one time back in the 90s, and I went out over a bad marriage, you know, and it took me a while to get back on the train. I was sober again after I went to Betty Ford for almost 2 years, and you know, you just go through spells until you finally get it again, you know, and I finally got it again, and I can't afford to lose sight right now because there's too many things that are important right now, and you know, my family, and then, you know, least of all, my life, you know.
Right, absolutely. Well, I'm going to ask one more in this vein before we go to something a little more pleasant. But one of the things that we've always thought on this side, and obviously we don't know, we're obviously outside looking in like so many fans are. But what we've always thought was maybe the reason that you fell into, a harder run with partying and whatnot came after the fire because – and not even so much the rest of your band, but you specifically, because you were out front and you were more or less kind of the face of the station fire, that really, it's our guess and we don't know, and that's why I'm asking. Was that...
Well, I have to admit that has a lot to do with it. In retrospect, I really thought a lot about that, and I've been through numerous counseling sessions about that. And... that was put on my shoulders, and at first I thought, I made comments like, well, I got big shoulders, and nobody can handle something like that, there was a tragedy, so many people lost their lives, and the ripple effect from that, you can't even imagine how big that is, and every time somebody wants me to talk about the fire, I just can't anymore because no matter what I say, I hurt somebody's feelings. I piss somebody off. I don't say something right, or somebody don't think I'm remorseful as I should be, or it's like this. This was really, really hard on me, and I'm not saying that it wasn't hard on anybody else too, because certainly it was harder on most people than it was me.
Right.
But nobody got out of that place unscarred. Physically or mentally, or psychologically or spiritually. It was a really horrible ordeal. And I'm sorry it ever happened, but there was nothing I could have done about it. If there was, I would have.
Well, Jack, no one would ever point a finger and think that was just a malicious thing that band did. That would never cross anyone's mind, at least any normal person. So, it was unfortunate circumstances and things happen that are out of our control, and there was never any malicious intent there. And I think any normal, sane, rational person would know that. So,
well, I appreciate that, man.
That's I got to hang out with you briefly in Burlington, Iowa during Burlington Boat Days. I drove Dawn down from Chicago. And I was, just having a very brief chat with you, and your former tour manager, Waldo, was standing there. But, I was talking to you, and Waldo's just like, Jack's just not in the mood to talk. He just stays in his room and reads books, and he's just not really into talking right now. So, why don't you step to the side? That's what he's telling me. Because this was shortly after, the fire, and
right.
You definitely were looking very introspective at that point. Like it was going through your mind and replaying again and again. And this is the last I'm going to mention that because I don't want to dwell on that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
But as somebody who has had personal contact with you, I could see the personal toll it took on you at that point.
Sure it did, and it did. And I'm not saying that's the reason I drank or used my whole life. But I'm definitely going to say that I would agree that it made it spiral more than I think it would have.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Jack, I've heard you do a lot of interviews, since late last year. Obviously the big news, or the big old news now, is the split with the bandmates of Great White, and that's all old news in my opinion. Everybody's had their say, everybody's had their sniping, everybody's pointed fingers, and this guy's at fault, and you did. I don't really give a crap about any of that. The thing that I enjoy about you and Great White is the music, and that's what's important. But let me ask you point blank, do you see anywhere down the road that this breach could be repaired?
You know what? I like to say time heals all wounds. And I've been trying to keep my mouth shut. We all had a few things to say initially, and I said, okay, look, let's just shut it down with the Lord's handle, And then I'm watching this video thing the other band did the other day, and And they're still going on and on and on. Mike saying stuff like, oh, Jack was involved in the songwriting. It's like, okay, well, I got more credits than anybody else. Figure that one out. And Mark's saying, well, Jack's name must not mean much, or he wouldn't have to use Jack's Great White. I'm thinking, well, then why don't you go out as Mark Kendall, and we'll see how good you do. And then they're going, well, you know, the guy's going, the interviewer asks him, he goes, well, now that since you guys own the trademark, how come it's such a hassle, you know, with the court and everything? And they just kind of hem and hawed, and I'm thinking, well, guys, come on, you don't own the trademark. That's why we're going to court. You know, and then there was another thing. They were saying, Mark was saying his publicist is doing such a good job from keeping things from being confusing, you know, with all the advertisements. And, you know, there was just one show in New Mexico. They had 8 pictures, and they were all of me. So it's like, you know, guys, just shut up. You're not getting anything right. You know, just don't talk about Jack at all. You know, please. You know, that's all I want to say about that. Just idiots. But as far as getting back together again, well, you know, if they're being idiots, who knows? But, I mean, every time they open their mouth, they stick their foot in it.
Sure.
I'm just getting tired of it, man. I just want this all to go away.
Right.
I want the lawyers to handle it, the courts to handle it, and I just want to sit in my house, my boat, whatever.
Right. Do you feel that right now that, you know, your value as quote unquote Jack Russell's great white is diminished though with them out there?
Well, absolutely, because people still don't understand. Like, not everybody reads all the internet tabloids and all that kind of stuff. They're like grown people, have regular jobs. You don't get on Facebook. You know, they see Great White playing at so and so. Oh yeah, I love those guys. You hear the songs on the radio. They don't know that there's some other dude singing there. You know, they go out there and they go, God, it sounds really not good. You know, what happened? Oh, it's another. Oh wow, you know. And then by the time it's too late, then. So it's you know, it's important, you know, and they say, well, you know, they're taking care of all this stuff to make sure people know. That's the only reason I didn't just take the name Great White when I left. And I didn't, and that's the thing, see, I didn't leave, and that is the big misnomer here. When I said, when I made my first press release, I said, I'm taking the name of the band I started and moving on. At that time, I was the president of the corporation Shark Touring, which was the corporation that ran Great White, that paid the bills. I was the CEO. Mark was the vice president. We were the only 2 officers and members of the organization. Michael Lardy and Audie Desbro and everybody else, they were all just hired musicians.
Okay.
So I fired them all. When I said I'm taking the name, that means you're fired. But
right.
They didn't want to be fired, and neither did the manager, because that's his gig. So they came out the next day and said, oh my gosh, we're blindsided and shocked that, you know, Jack was supposed to return on the 10th, and we don't understand why he's doing this. He has no right to use the name, and blah, 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 you know. And then they turned around and said, well, we knew he was going to do that, and we wanted him. We were trying to fire him. And there's been so many stories, and it's like, did you want me? Did you not want me? And the bottom line doesn't really matter, because I fired them, and, you know, I'm the only one that had the wake, you know, the who-go to do that. So, you know, it's all coming down in court. I'm not going to, you know, I don't want to get involved in a whole other, you know, rigmarole deal all over again. But I mean, I'm just so upset, because every time I turn around, there's one more thing in the press.
Sure.
You know, and it's not correct. I mean, I'm
right.
so sick of hearing Mike Lardy talk about how I didn't write any songs. Gee, Mike, I've got more than anybody.
Right.
You know, it's like, come on, man. You know, tell your wife to quit writing what you're supposed to say, and just be a man, you know?
Sure. Right. Well, let me make an assumption here, Jack, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. And the reason I'm making it is because I heard you on another interview saying that you're not going to do this until all the litigation and whatnot is handled. But in my eyes, as a fan, and knowing a lot of fans that are just more casual fans that don't know if it's you or if it's Terry Illouis fronting the band, who, you know, that really don't know. They just know the sound
right,
of Great
sure.
White. Don't you think that if you were to release even like a 4-song EP that would almost define which side is the true Great White, since obviously your voice is so defined with what Great White always has been?
Oh, yeah, we're getting ready to put something out, but I don't want to put something out till, it's going to be worthy of the name. I mean, I'm really worthy of the name. I mean, and I want to wait until the name gets decided. I mean, I want to put out something Jack Russell's Great White when I could just as easy put out Great White.
Right.
So why have to do that? I'd rather just go back and use the name Great White.
Well, what I meant though, Jack
Russell.
No, I understand that, but at the same time, do you understand my point that if people
I do understand your point, and we are working on stuff. We got some great stuff in the can. We're actually recording on the 16th at the Whiskey, and we're recording a live set. Matter of fact, my good friend Tony Montana from Great White is coming down to play a song with us, as is Gary Holland, our original drummer, who's flying out from New York to play a song with us. And we'll record that for a live video and DVD. We're going to release that online for free. That'll be my birthday gift to everybody in December. And so you can see how it's supposed to sound like live, And yeah, we are working on new stuff. We have some new stuff in the can. But like I said, I'm not going to release it until this name stuff's settled.
Excellent, Jack. Well, Jack, Chris mentioned that we've heard other interviews. Last week on the Classic Metal Show, we actually played snippets of other people's interviews with you. And one of the things that Chris and I, we've been doing the Classic Metal Show for 16 years now. And
yeah, right on.
And one of the things and I got to ask you, this is just from a personal comfort level where you're concerned. Does it bother you when people get all slobbery over you when they introduce you and they just, oh, Jack, you're like one of the greatest vocalists ever, and thank God for you, and I thank Jesus Christ as my personal savior that you're still here on earth with us and making music, and thank you for being on my show? And does that make you uncomfortable?
No, to be honest with you, it's really heartwarming, and sincerely, it's one of those things that I find very charming. And I think when that finally does stop one day, I'm really going to miss it. That's when it's going to be like, well, your life is truly over in that regard. I'll be one of those guys going, hey, don't you want my autograph? Don't you remember who I am? It's man, I'm going to miss that. And I love the fact that people, look up to me because of the fact they love something that I do. And it's not an ego trip either. It's just, there's nothing like a feeling of being really appreciated for something that you love to do, that you do well,
Right. Well, Jack, that's good to hear, because I know if you weren't here that the sun would no longer rise over anybody. So it's just great that you're still alive and still hanging in with us, buddy.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you. That's wonderful to hear. I kind of think the same thing, but I wouldn't really say that. At least I know it wouldn't rise over me. That's for sure.
Well, Jack, one of the first times, well, let me say the second time that I got involved with you. The first time was when Great White released "Let It Rock" back in '96, which is my favorite Great White CD. But the second one was when you released your For You release, and you were touring around the hard rock cafes around the country. And I basically hooked up with you at the Hard Rock Cafe in Cleveland. And, you did your kind of a promotional tour for that, but then it really didn't go anywhere. Looking back here, what has it been, like 10, 12 years already since you released that?
Yeah. It's been 10 years.
What's your thoughts on your solo release now, looking back? Is there anything
you
wish?
I'm glad I did it. It still stands up. I put it on. It sounds like I could have done it yesterday. I'm not through with it. We're still talking to movie companies that are talking about putting some of the songs in soundtracks. So there's still hope for the album, in that regard. It's still a great record. We still saw them at the shows. We still play a tune or two now and then. It was fun making it. And one of these days I'll probably make another similar one, but right now I'm concentrating on a new Great White album,
Sure, absolutely. Now, I got to ask you something. You know, the internet could be a very great thing, but it can also be a detrimental thing, depending on...
Oh, yeah, it's the devil and it's God, the same thing. Yeah, it's Jesus and the devil.
Well, there's been obviously, you probably have heard it, but there's been this recording going around where you, I don't know, just spaced out during an interview with a radio station in Philadelphia, WYSP. Do you remember that at all?
When was this?
This was, it might have been a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago at the most.
Oh, well, yeah, that's back when I wasn't doing so long.
Well, I know that was during that time. I was just wondering if, obviously we all know what was going on there. But when you see or hear or are reminded of stuff like that, give me your gut reaction and what your thought is at that moment.
Well, after I stopped laughing, it's kind of a sickening feeling in my stomach, you know what I mean? But, I mean, I just got to go, fucking Jack, you know? I mean, yeah, we do the dumb things we do in life, and we look back and regret them, or we don't. And, you got to have a sense of humor, or you just might as well jump off the planet. Yeah, I've done a lot of dumb things. I've done a lot of stupid things I wish I wouldn't have done. But on the other hand, I've done a lot of great things, and I've done a lot of great things I wish I would have done again, and I'm going to try to do again, Excuse me for being human, you know what I mean? And if you can't, that's just part of me, man, or it was part of me, And if you can't look at it with have a little bit of sense of humor, then fuck you,
Right. well, Jack, let's talk about your new band a little bit, or the Jack Russell's Great White Band. How did
I talk about me some more, man? What's up?
Well, thank God for you, Jack. I praise the Lord Jesus Christ above that you're on the earth and you're still performing, and thank you for being part of the Classic Metal Show.
Okay, that's all I do. Thank you. Okay, what were you saying?
No, talk a little bit. If we could take the focus away from you for half a second, talk a little bit about.
Okay, we could do that.
Talk a little bit about the band and how much different it is. A, to put together a new band, but B, to obviously that changes everything from how you write to how you record. Because everybody has different habits in the studio and in practice and everything else. How has that been? Has it almost been like a totally different project for you?
Well, you know what the bottom line is, I'm always calling the shots, always has been, so it's really not different. I'm just yelling at different people now. I mean, I've got these great guys. I mean, Matthew Johnson, who has played with me before, he was actually the guitarist that played on the Shelter Me album, which is my first solo album in '96. That was right after Let It Rock. We did that. And there's a gentleman named Darius Sasius who plays bass, and he's been in Stephen Piercy and Firehouse. And I met him on the road years ago when he was in Firehouse, and Derek was playing with us at the time. And Derek, of course, who was in Great White for a number of years, I think 4+, and he's back with me again. And a phenomenal guitarist named Robbie Lochner, who is also on guitar. So, I have two lead guitar players, one who plays keyboards, a drummer, which is great. He's been in Great White, a bass player. These guys are all seasoned. They're all veterans. The egos are minimal. And, they were my solo band. They were the Shelter Dogs. And we were getting ready to work on some new stuff, and while I was waiting to heal up for the Great White thing. And, my full plan was to go back with the band, but nobody would pick up a phone call. And they started hitting me with these big, you got to do this, you got to do that, and saying, you know what, it's my band. I'm not going to pee in a cup for singing my band. Screw you, you're fired. Anyway, back to my guys. After they take their piss test, then they can go on stage. No, I'm kidding. They're amazing players. They're just great guys, and it really, since I've known most of them for a long, long time, and I've toured with them. It's really not that big of a deal, except they're really nice guys, and they really do give a shit about me,
Sure.
I mean, you have to understand how hard it is. I mean, you guys don't like, I was literally crying yesterday, and she says, honey, what's wrong? I go, I can't believe my friends of over 30 years try to do this to me. And I was bawling, and she goes, Jack, they're just really evil people. And I went, wow, I don't want to think of them like that, but, whatever, I don't know how I got back on that, but, you know, the guys I'm in right now, they're just really great guys, and they really do love me. They really do care about me, and they are my friends. And you know, it's nice to have that atmosphere, and it's fun again to go on stage. I mean, we did this, you know, America Rocks tour. We're on a bus, and that was the first time I've been on a bus since '99. I swore I'd never do that again, and it was a lot of fun. I had a really good time, you know.
Well, you're you're Jack Russell, for Christ's sakes.
For God's sakes.
Right. Well, Jack, you know, the interesting thing, and I'll ask you one that I asked Janie, you know, 6 months before he passed, you know, but I think the same question, you know, has some validity.
Is this a loaded question?
No, it's not. But I think it's probably one of those that you've probably sat down and really thought about. Is, you know, obviously.
Sure.
The road is a fun place, but the road is also a bad place for a lot of people that are trying to, you know, get clean and get themselves straightened around. You know, it's so easy, and there's so many people more than willing to put something in your pocket, in your hand, whatever. You know, how do you now go out on the road without letting that element that has been part of, you know, your life? How do you keep that element out of your life now on the road?
Well, for one, I don't have those issues. I'll be sober on the 10th for a year of August. I don't care what anybody says. That's a fact. And sure. God knows it. I know that. So is my sponsor, my band, and my wife. And I'm really proud of that, you know, and that took a lot. It's been easier this time because I'm so afraid of ending up like Janie, and I'm positive that's where it's going to go. You know, and that would break my wife's heart. It would, you know, hurt a lot of people I wouldn't want to hurt, you know, least of all me. Right. You know, I take a lesson from Janie. We got to become good friends with his widow, Kimberly, through an odd set of circumstances, which I can only call a God shot, you know. And my wife and her have become really good friends because they are, you know, my wife can ask her and talk to her about stuff that only she can understand because, I mean, basically they've gone through the same things, only I didn't die, you know. So it's, you know, yeah, it's easy. The road's easy for me because really, I mean, I just don't want to do it. I have, you know, I've got a whole band full of guys that whether I like it or not, which I do, they're going to be guarding me like a hawk, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because they don't want to see me hurt myself, and even though they don't need to, but it's nice to have that, you know, that
second line of defense.
There. Yeah, of course. And I had some guy, I don't know, what was it? Yeah, a couple months ago. You know, I'm walking and I limp. I have a cane. I limp. I don't use it on stage, but you know, because one leg's shorter than the other one, and he goes, "You're in pain, man?" I go, "Every day of my life, man." He goes, "Well, I got something for you." I go, "No, dude, that's fine. I'm so okay." I go, "But I appreciate it. Thank you very much, man." He goes, "Okay, well, if you change your mind," I go, "I won't." You know, but it's, you know, I don't take that as something mean. I mean, I appreciate the fact what they're trying to say, but obviously he's not hip to my complete passion. I mean, he wouldn't be offering me that, you know.
Sure.
Either that or he works the other side.
Right. Well, Jack, believe me, we really appreciate you.
You can't look like Michael Lardy. I don't know.
Now, enough with the sniping here. Take the high road,
I'm just
Jack.
kidding.
Take the high
I'm
road.
just kidding. I always take the high road, man.
Well, I gotta tell you, Jack, it's a pleasure to have you back on the Classic Metal Show. I'm not gonna have a slobbering love affair here with you, but
oh, come on, anytime.
But Chris and I were talking about the fact that you were going to be on the show this week, last week, and we basically took bets that you would be very cool about the very direct and pointed questions we were going to ask you, and you came through with flying colors.
Oh, absolutely. Come on, my life's always been an open book. You know, I mean, I don't really care what people think about me, honestly, because, I mean, you know, everybody's going to have their opinions. You know, if you want the truth, come out to the shows. You'll see what's up.
Right. Well, again,
you know?
Well, Chris and I are both fans. I've known you for years. I've supported you for years. The Classic Metal Show has been behind you for years, and you know it'll continue. So thank you again.
Well, thank you so much. I just want to say one thing else before we go. October 18th, we're doing this, It's a rock for the cure. It's for breast cancer, and it's gonna be out in Ontario at an arena with a bunch of different bands, and the band's called Lord of Rock. Is a band I'm jamming with. It's got like Phil Suzanne, Robert Sarzo, Myron Grombacher, a bunch of other great players, and we're doing some songs along some other groups, and it's to support the cure for breast cancer. They're coming up with a vaccine that's probably going to save a lot of lives, so I just want to say if anybody gets a chance, get out there and support it.
That's out in Ontario, California?
Yeah, you just look on the web, there'll be more to follow. It's October 18th.
And then where can people find you on the web there, Jack?
You can look me on jacksgreatwhite.com, his official website, or Jack Russell Pirate page on Facebook, or Jack Russell's Well Wishers page, or the Jack Russell Facebook page.
Well, you're not hard to find out there on the web, are you?
No. No, I'm not. I'm not hard to find anyway. That's the problem.
Excellent.
I got to sneak around, Got to keep the curtains closed.
Right. All right, Jack. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us here on the Classic Metal Show. Of course, you're welcome back anytime. And
anytime. Hey, you guys got the number. Anytime you ever want to ask anything or just stop and say hello, just give me a call.
All right. Well, good luck and good health to you, and hopefully I'll get to see you here very soon.
Sounds great. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. You guys have always been great.
All right, Jack. Well, before you go, how about picking a tune to take us out of the interview?
Okay, let's do, are we doing Great Whites or any song?
Anything you want. Anything that you like.
Okay, let's do something appropriate, man. Don't Get Fooled Again.
Okay. What do you like about that song?
Just like the title.
Excellent.
There it is.
All right. Well, here it is. This is The Who, by request of the great Jack Russell with Don't Get Fooled Again, exclusively here
On your Classic Metal Show.